Track 5.
Thank you, Barry. As you said at the start of your presentation, human cloning is creating a genetically identical copy of another person. And although this happens naturally, as you also mentioned, in the form of identical twins, the main topic we're discussing today is artificial human cloning. Alice, could you remind us of the two main types of cloning that Barry covered?
Yes, of course. Therapeutic cloning involves the creation of new cells or organs, embryos, for example, for medical or research purposes. Reproductive cloning is actually growing a new human being.
And do you think that ethically there is really any difference between the two? Barry?
It's a good question, and I'm not really sure that I know the answer. Reproductive cloning is often the one that people fear. If you ask me, the idea of making a new person identical to someone living, or who has lived, is a bit too close to science fiction.
Alice, what are your views on reproductive cloning?
Yes, it's true people think of armies of clones, all the same, non-thinking machines almost, who could be used in an attack by some mad dictator. There are so many books and films on this theme that people seem to imagine that it could really happen.
And couldn't it?
I don't think so. In my view, just because you have the same genes as someone doesn't mean you're going to act like a robot. What about identical twins? They don't do the same thing all the time, but act as individuals. So I think clones would be more like that.
Fair point. Twins have different personalities, so it's unrealistic to think that clones would necessarily behave in the same way.
So, Barry, is there a positive side to reproductive cloning? I mean, would it be beneficial to anybody?
Childless couples? As far as I know, if reproductive cloning were legalised, those with fertility problems could have children.
That's a good point. So let's turn now to therapeutic cloning. What are your thoughts on that?
The possibilities are fascinating. If you could grow a new heart, kidney or lung for someone, you would address the problem of organ shortages. At the moment, people needing transplants usually have to wait for someone who wants to donate an organ and who has the same blood and tissue type.
Also, therapeutic cloning could be used to fight some degenerative diseases. You know, the type that get worse as you get older, such as Parkinson's.
So, going back to the question I asked at the beginning regarding the ethical issues...
I think that therapeutic cloning is easier for most people to accept, as you're only talking about carrying out research on certain parts of a human, whereas reproductive cloning deals with making a complete human being, one that can think, feel and talk. Now, that's an entirely different matter.